Yeah, look, the cause is easy. It just boils down to UV exposure, and then you two sort of main ones that you encounter is either a Pinguecula or a Pterygium, and
Yeah,
they both
yeah,
sort of start in the same location, but one's a bit more sort of an aggressive growth compared to the other one. Those two particular types aren't a cancerous growth; it's more a thickening of the tissue in response to UV. It's interesting that it appears typically on the nasal side.
mm,
And you kind of think that you get some sort of blockage from your nose to that
mm,
side, and UV would normally come the other way. But so there were some theories about a little bit of reflection off your nose into that area. But the real understanding now, from an optics point of view, is that the cornea on the front of your eye is a very powerful lens, and so we bring out the old famous lens model here. If you flip it around that way, so light entering here
mm,
gets focused over to there, and so it
okay.
gets intensified. So it actually almost comes in the tissue underneath, and that's the sort of theory behind pterygium growth and why we get them on the nose side. So it's related to that amplification of the UV through the cornea. A pinguecula is kind of just a yellow thickening. Some people have them for years, and it's not until their eye gets a bit irritated that they start to go, oh, these lumps have been there. And it's like,
Mm,
well, I suspect they've been there for some time, but it's just a little bit of redness around it kind of tends to highlight it. Whereas a pterygium is a growth that then starts to grow into the cornea, and if it grows big enough, it can start to degrade your vision. And so they're the ones that we're probably a little bit more concerned about.
mm, yeah. So pterygiums and pingueculas, they're always fun words to say and even more fun to spell. So just to clarify that, so which one is the actual growth and which one is just a yellow spot?
Yeah, so yellow spot, pinguecula,
Hmm.
growth, pterygium. And people can confuse pterygiums with cataracts. And so a cataract is something that occurs from, again, it can be UV damage accumulation over the years, but a cataract is something you get inside the eye, inside the lens itself. So a cataract tends to be this part here, okay, whereas
Mm,
pterygium, pinguecula are on the
mm,
conjunctiva next to the cornea, whereas a pterygium
yep,
starts to grow in. And you can see here we've got the pupil. So
yep,
if the pterygium grows in far enough, it starts to distort the light
right.
entering the pupil, and that's where
Mm,
you can get this sort of irregular astigmatism and blur, other than just the aggravation too of it getting red and sore.
mm, mm. And I think aside from vision problems, like maybe some people, they feel uncomfortable about the aesthetics of pterygiums and pinguecula.
Yeah,
So I guess one, like how can we prevent them, and two, like what options are there for actually removing them?
yeah. Look, you know, some protection from an early age, particularly as we were talking, sort of the high UV. If you're living high altitude, snow, or near
Mm,
water and beach, you get another 25 to 30%, and possibly more in some conditions, of UV reflected from the surfaces. So you're getting an additional dose. And that's the thing with being on the
mm,
east coast of Australia. You're looking out into the sun while you're surfing in the morning, and so you're getting
mm,
the UV directly in.
mm,
So wearing some, I know it may not be so cool, but wearing some sort of UV protection in those conditions is a good idea, so that you're sort of blocking that, and something that wraps really well, so you're actually sort of
yeah,
blocking the light from
yeah,
the side in particular. As far as sort of, I'm not sure how much research has been done on just whether lubricating it changes how much it grows, but certainly using lubricants to keep the eye more comfortable, because you've got this bump
mm,
sticking out and the tear film kind of runs off the top of it. They
mm,
tend to dry out and go red. And so cosmetically, you can get some improvements on small pinguecula and small pterygium just by using some lubricant. Often the
mm,
redness goes away because you've covered the eye
mm,
up. It's no longer dry, and so you don't get that vascular response anymore.
right.
So lubricants is always a great idea for those sorts of things. And then if you're prone to sort of eye allergies, then
Mm,
we'll get into that discussion in a moment. That may also help just kind of decrease the redness. But I would always go for a lubricant first, because lubricants are usually, you can't do a lot of harm with a preservative free over the
mm,
counter lubricant most of the time. Yeah, the Pinguecula, not a lot tends to be done about those.
mm,
Pterygiums traditionally only were removed when they became sight threatening. So
right.
the classic measurement was when it was sort of halfway to the edge of the pupil from from the edge of the eye, or the edge of the cornea, that's when you went and got it done. But the old methods from decades ago meant that there was a very high chance of that pterygium regrowing, and so there was a lot of putting off and getting that sort of surgery done because of that. But the new techniques now have almost sort of tipped that regrowth rate on its head. So they're tending to be more comfortable operating on them earlier. And certainly there's plenty of examples of them being done if cosmetically it's an issue. So speaking with a surgeon, they said they're often getting models who are getting it done because it's part of their career profession. And the other time we see it if someone's got a really red aggravated pterygium and lubricants just aren't doing the job, then that's when they may consider doing an operation to remove it.